as we're there, another incident occurs to me. He had a contract drawn up, and there was just the two brothers of us, my elder brother and I. And he called us into the office, everybody else had signed, and he said, sign this, lads. And Ron said, what is it? He says, well, read it. And so he read it, and the deal was that he could sack us, but we couldn't leave. And he'd no answer, and he came round and grabbed my brother and what they call it, frog marched him out, threw him out of the door. And I was standing there when he came back. He said, you sign, Arthur. I said, no. I said, that's my brother you've just thrown out.
Yeah.
And so we didn't sign. We were banned from the studio. So we just, well, I sunbathed. It was summertime. And we went to the law. We went to the Variety Artist Union. And they fought the case solicitor. We got back pay and reinstated, so we were missed, you see. You see, Randall was employed by JB.
Yes.
For the film only.
Ah, yeah.
For the film. But his gang, see, his stooges as it were, wandering about in khaki. I was one of them. You see me on the film now and then. Yeah. Just a thin little lad of about 20, 21.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened there, which occurs to me. Where's my book?
Here's your book.
Now,
Excellent.
the 1940 summer season, I was in Blackpool and he didn't work because he was supposed to be in a show with Arthur Askey.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
And he was walking about and he says, look, they won't have me in the show. He says, so Arthur Askey's paid me £300 to walk about for the summer. That's a fact. And I took his photograph on the promenade, which I have miraculously survived. I don't know how. And I'll show it to you. That's Harry Champion, any old man. I was in a show with him before he died. He was a nice chap. And these two have died. I've outlived them. Films were not exactly classics.
No, a bit rough and ready, we might say.
The policy of James Blakely was to say they didn't work to script.
No.
They just got an idea of a scene and walked on and made it up. He told me himself. And such as Manny J, I've written his name down. Anyway, the agents came up to Blackpool, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And he influenced them not to have us. So we actually went over the border into Scotland.
Amazing.
We had to go and work in another country. He was such a dangerous, mean man, tyrant. What he did, which was told to me by one of the cast who I knew, in Accrington, when we were away, when we'd left him, he really went worse and he broke up the dressing room in Liverpool Pavilion.
Was that with an axe?
No, I don't know what he used, a chair or something, broke everything, the mirrors and everything, because the management had upset him. But another trick he did was in Accrington Hippodrome, and it was in pantomime, it was his pantomime. He had to be the big man, and the cast wanted paying for a particular matinee. And it wouldn't pay them unless they went and did it in an empty theatre. So one afternoon in the Accrington Hippodrome, he got them all to go through the paces, say the lines, and when it came to him there was just silence. I mean, that's the act of a Hitler.
Yeah.
Before he paid them that extra bit of money.
Yeah.
That's what he did. We were not with him, and then that was about 1945.
Would it be possible to describe a typical day's filming? You know, what time did they start? And
well, it started early, about 8 o'clock. We lived nearby in Diggs. I think it was a Mrs. Gachet, funny enough, I don't know where it comes from. Gachet, and just down the street, very near, in Hammersmith, and so we were there. But there was a lot of hanging about for everybody, and the lights went on, and then there were discussions about this, that and the other, and Harry Corris was often there in these films, and Robbie Vincent and so and so, and Arthur Mertz and a few others, and the cameramen and so on. It was just rigged up, and we had to wait for instructions, sort of. See, still boys, and the shadowy figure was James Blakely all the time. Sits in a chair, but there was no shouting and bawling.
No, no.
So really, as I say, I never got a conversation with James Blakely. I saw him every day.
Yeah.
But there was no point in him talking to me. Oh, Dan Young was another. And Manchester Hume Hippodrome, Hardwick Green, Salford Hippodrome. Now, at Salford Hippodrome, before we left, I was 21, and actually I fell out with him there because I used to be in the line-up and feed him, see, and such little jokes. We used to be dressed as and waiting for the army officer. His name was Billy Pardo. He was ever such a good straight man, and he was in some of the films. And he would say such things as, now he says, you come see I'm the medical officer, and I'll be quiet, 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 quiet. And Randall's joke would be, he's a quack doctor, which is quite funny.
Yeah.
And he used to take the names, and then he said to me, what's your name? And I used to say, I stuttered, that was my part.
Right.
Fitzwilliam. So he says, why does he call him Fitzwilliam? And Randall used to say, oh, what fits me, Fitzwilliam. And that was another joke.
Yeah.
But coming off, I was dreaming. I was 21. And he sort of had a go at me, which I didn't like.
No.
And so he hit me across the face. I always had to, and the others had to call him Mr. Randall, never Frank. It was only such as Billy Pardo, the straight man, Ernie Dale, the singer.
Yeah.
He was so nice, Ernie Dale, a big ex-army man.
Yeah.
He died at the age of 57, I think. And so I followed him into the dressing room. I said, you have done it now. Yeah, to him. Tell you boy, you've done it. And I didn't hold it against him. I knew he was crazy, but I thought, oh, must keep away from him now. So I always took everything with a pinch. I was telling you, what happened was, I said, well, I couldn't remember Mr. Randall. That did it, see?
Yeah.
And he turned around and he was furious because I'd called his bluff. Everybody calls me Mr. Randall, not Frank. So he's a great big head. I don't care, his talent was limited. His two character acting jobs was very good. As a comedian, he was more daft than funny. And so, no, it didn't leave him on the strength of that, but it just happened then about 6-9 months later.
Yeah.
George Swanby was nothing compared to the draw of him.